Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to find your seats. We're going to start momentarily. Right, CPE? Hey, Council President Emeritus, Maritza Davila, thank you for joining us. I did that on purpose. Good morning, Paterson. And indeed, it is a good morning in Paterson whenever our governor is here and he's delivering on promises as far as improving our city and our quality of life. Governor, if you allow me, I was getting a little nostalgic this morning. I was reminiscing about the first time that I met you in 2015. As a matter of fact, you quickly left an indelible impression on me. But the worst thing you could have done during that meeting was give me your personal cell phone number. And he readily admits that. He readily admits that. Because when I became mayor a few years later, I texted him incessantly. And I'm sure that you remember some of those messages or the same message that I sent several thousand times. We're writing a success story in the city of Paterson, and we want you to be a co-author. And so today, as we welcome our governor on this good morning in Paterson, we are writing a new narrative. And true to his word, our governor is a co-author. A co-author to success stories like Hinchliffe Stadium, New Jersey's Field of Dreams, which has been fallow for 25 years, but thanks to the governor's support, we're bringing back this historic treasure, one of only two stadiums still standing that hosted Negro League games in this country. We're bringing back Hinchliffe Stadium for the people of Paterson, for the people of New Jersey, and the people of the United States of America. And if the New Jersey Jackals are watching, we want you to make Hinchliffe your home stadium. Thank you. Sorry, shameless plug there. Got to make a pitch, right? Hit a home run for Hinchliffe right here, stepping up to the plate. Part of the success story, and Congressman Pasquale fought along with the late and lamented Senator and proud Pattersonian Frank R. Lautenberg to get the National Park designation for the Great Falls. And thanks to our co-author, Governor Phil Murphy, the Great Falls will have a visitor center named for the founder of Paterson, Alexander Hamilton. Senator Poe, you fought hard for a lot of these ERG projects as well, along with Assemblyman Benji Wimberly and Assemblywoman Sumter and Ward Street Garage. We'll get a new one and leave enough space from mixed-use development so we can leverage the train station and get transit-oriented development as well. Bob Garashi, who couldn't be here but provided the cake and some of the gifts as well, he sent Dave Gelman. He will be opening up with NJCDC a youth performance art center here in the city of Paterson, which is sorely needed. Again, the co-author of the success story. But also with some of the gifts that you'll be giving Paterson in the form of additional aid. Both of our flagship parks, East Side and West Side parks, will receive improvements as well. And I want to thank our business administrator, Kathleen M. Long, for all the work that she's done as well. You can give her a round of applause. What have you? And I thank you on behalf of DPW. They'll be getting new equipment. I thank you on behalf of the police department. They'll be getting new vehicles. And so we're writing that new narrative here in the city of Paterson. And we couldn't ask for a better co-author than America's governor, Phil Murphy. And thank you for giving me your cell phone number.
Easy in the back. I love it. As I said, one of the biggest mistakes in my life. No, I love Andre. I wish, who do the Mets have tonight?
They're playing the Phillies, sir.
The Phillies?
Yes.
That's a big series.
It is 4 games.
Yeah.
In Philly.
Okay.
Very much a fan.
Yeah. I'm not going to shed a lot of tears one way or the other on that one, but I do. As Andre knows, the Mets are my favorite National League team. We'll leave it at that. It is a real treat to be back in Paterson, and I've been here a lot over the past many years, and it's a thrill to be here Mayor, thank you for everything you do, and your friendship in all seriousness, your partnership, your leadership is outstanding. Congressman Pascrell and I are together back-to-back days. Yesterday, a really exciting opening of a global Japanese headquartered but globally significant pharmaceutical firm in straddling both Essex and Passaic County, given where their building is, in both Nutley and Clifton, which is that's not easy to do, but they've done it. And it's great to be with you today. Nobody fights harder for New Jersey, and certainly not for Paterson than you do. Members of the Rockin' 35th, honored to be with you all. Nellie Poe, Shavonda Sumter, Coach Benji Wimberly. Benji, how you feeling about the team? You feel good? Okay, we're going to have a good one this year. County commissioners, I know TJ was here. Is he still here somewhere? TJ, you're right in front of me. And Terry and Pat, thank you guys for everything you do. Members of law enforcement, Sheriff, Nart, Jerry, the rest of the law enforcement team here. Dr. Lassiter, my dear friend and former, still Little League coach or former? Former Little League coach. Dr. Clayton, other faith leaders, members of council, Maritza, Luis. We have a representative of the Dominican Republic Diplomatic Corps with us. Honored to be with you, and fellow New Jerseyans and Patersonians. I am thrilled to be back. I've had the pleasure, as I mentioned, of visiting Paterson, I would say now on countless occasions, both as governor in the past 4.5 years and for the many years before that. And many of those trips have been to highlight a new investment here, as Andre has gone through in this extraordinary, proud city, making Paterson all it can be, not just for those who live in its today, but for those with a vision for its tomorrow. And that requires, as Andre said, it requires partnership. And I'm honored to be a partner to every Patersonian who believes in that bright future. And so that brings me to today and to the state budget that I signed 51 days ago. And Andre alluded to some of this, but it's an extraordinary budget in many respects, but in particular for Paterson. It invests heavily in making New Jersey the state of opportunity, and I would argue it is equally committed to making Paterson the city of opportunity. All in all, the budget includes more than $54 million in new and expanded investments in Paterson, in its institutions, and in its residents. And while I'm proud to have signed that budget and have championed a lot of the elements of it, it doesn't get to my desk without great leadership in the legislature, and Nellie and Shavonda and Benji are as good as it gets. And they all deserve an enormous amount of credit. So let me just go through a few elements of that $54 million. First off, it includes nearly $11 million in something called supplemental state transitional aid from the now expired fiscal 22 budget, which ended on June 30th. So that money was flipped forward, and that'll support a whole number of initiatives that Andre and council members and the team and the legislators have identified and highlighted. So it includes in that 11 million, more than 3 million, as Andre alluded to, for new police cars, a new ambulance, and other vehicles and equipment. Amen to that. Other equipment needed by Paterson's emergency services professionals. It includes hundreds of thousands of dollars for the city's Department of Public Works. Yeah. I'm shamelessly fishing for applause here. So the DPW can have the tools they need to keep the city working, to repave roads that it needs to, and keep streets and catch basins clear to prevent flooding. There's $500,000 to improve the Office of Emergency Management complex on Pennsylvania Avenue so city resources can be more efficiently and effectively dispatched when they're needed. Please hold your applause until another $500,000 will promote the large-scale electrification of the city's vehicle fleet, as well as add both private and public charging infrastructure. There's funding to renew the roadways inside East Side Park and to support improvements in West Side Park as well, more than $1 million in total. With nearly $300,000, the Riverside Senior Center will get a new roof and an upgraded HVAC system and other improvements to allow them to better serve their residents. And it will also invest $1 million in renovation to the Paterson Museum, so the 230-year story of this great city and all it represents can continue to be told. But beyond the vital transitional aid, remember that's $11 million of the 54 I mentioned, the budget also directly invests $5 million in the social services provided by the Straight and Narrow program founded and operated by the Diocese of Paterson's Catholic Charities. It's providing vital supports for community-based anti-violence programs, especially those focused on, amen, especially those focused on Paterson's youth, and it supports the Paterson Jumpstart youth program. It includes an $8 million appropriation to support the redevelopment of long overlooked neighborhoods and streets next to the Great Falls, a vision for a vibrant urban community where people will work, visitors will come, and families will live. And this is on top, I feel like a Ginsu knife commercial here. And yeah, I do. I may be the last, the congressman and I may be the last two that do remember that. And all of this is on top of the support we have provided alongside our federal, thank you, Congressman, county and local partners to continually improve the Paterson Great Falls National Park and turn the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution in America into a point of rebirth for the entire city. In the downtown, the budget includes as well $2 million to support the construction, as Andre mentioned, of the new Ward Street parking garage, so visitors not only have better access to the city center, but at a modern facility that includes electric vehicle charging stations. And this, in turn, will sit beside numerous other state investments being made in Paterson's downtown parking infrastructure. There's much more we could talk about, and we do have a limited amount of time, but I must note that thanks to the more than $48 million in federal funds that this guy right here, Congressman Bill Pascrell, helped deliver, we're about to break ground on much needed and comprehensive pedestrian and motorist safety and roadway drainage improvements at the Route 20 Fifth Avenue intersection. Thank you, Bill. And as Andre as well mentioned, Paterson is a wonderful, proud city, distinguished so well by its history, from the Great Falls to Hinchliffe Stadium. But it is the people of Paterson who truly define it. Hardworking people, proud people, people from all over the world who have come to this little part of New Jersey to help write our continuing American story. This budget and our entire administration stands shoulder to shoulder with the mayor, council, his administration, with the congressman, with senator and the assembly members, with our faith leaders, law enforcement leaders, with Passaic County, and frankly, with every Patersonian. So much of New Jersey's historic economic power was generated right here in Paterson. I am proud now to provide these investments to ensure we continue to grow and evolve and succeed together. And with that, it is my honor to introduce a guy who's been a member of the Assembly, even more importantly, a mayor of this great city, and now as a congressman who is pugilistically passionate about New Jersey, about this county, about the city. Please help me welcome Congressman Bill Pascrell. Love you, man. Love you.
Happy birthday, Governor.
Thank you, sir.
I hope when you get to 40 years old, Governor. See, we can laugh about that. I'm a Yankee fan. You got your Mets tie on and your socks. You must be a Republican. We'll get him stirred up. Governor, we started this venture 30 years ago. and we talked about the relationship between the federal government, the state government, and county government, and local government. And we made a pledge to each other, a small group of us, and including at that time Senator Lautenberg, that we would make sure that that relationship would remain strong through the process. Because this has been a darn big project. And we saw this as making the falls, not with purple ropes around it, so that people couldn't touch or see, but we wanted the purple ropes away and the people there. And we kept our commitment to that in terms of money. Private organizations as well. And Leonard Zaks did such a great job in reaching out to the private sector in terms of donations. We wanted this to make everybody involved. And I want to say hello to Reverend Graham. God bless you. Thanks for coming here. This is in the great tradition of your father, who talked about it many times. And we're glad to see you, all of you. Reverend Lassiter, you're bringing us into the 21st century. We can't look back. If we are going to be the city that we want to be, we're not going to build it in the 19th century. This is the 21st century. We're not going to be like we were. The good times, the bad times. This is something different. So we want to hold on to the traditions. But we don't want those traditions to drag us back to another century. We want to go forward. It's about the future. Our kids, our workers. That's what made this the great city that it is. The people who got dirty, their knees, their hands, women, men. So this is truly the first industrial city. And I have good arguments with my friends from Massachusetts all the time. But this is it. This is where the labor movement started in America. This is where we celebrated the gift of working hard for your family. I worked in the mills. So when we try to capture the mills, not as a relic, but as something we can use in the 21st century, as it was used to make us an industrial power in the 18th and 19th centuries. So it's a great day. It's a great celebration of what this all means, what the Falls means. Hamilton and Washington knew what they were doing. When they visited and came to the Falls, sat on the embankment overlooking the falls, and came together with the ideas of moving many of the manufacturing apparatus from Europe here so our people could use them. People got to work. People want a sense of working towards an objective. So you heard the governor point out the background of where the different monies have come from. The American Rescue Plan, $350 billion state and local relief fund. And we fought, a bunch of us, about 7 or 8 in the Congress, fought to make sure that towns got money, counties got money, the states got money. That's our tax money. And we want it returned in meaningful ways. Meaningful ways. So this is a real celebration day. We're honored to have the governor here. I want to thank the mayor for incentivizing this thrust in the last 4 years and moving forward and look at the future. We have many conversations about what we'd like. And we want to keep our people safe at the same time. So recovering from the COVID has not been easy. We lost over 34,000 Jerseyans, 672 people we lost in Paterson, New Jersey, some of our relatives. Our economy cratered, and our schools were closed. But we did not turn our backs. We did not say the future looks hopeless. Not at all. Instead, we took on the tough ones. This city did. In fact, became one of the best cities in terms of responding to the COVID. We do not know what the consequences of the COVID was. We have no idea how it's affected our kids. We do not have any idea. I am telling you now. And Ruby, we're not going to know for another 10 years. I said that 2 years ago, and I mean it. We have a lot of work to do. When we think things are getting peachy, they're not. We got a long ways to go. People are hurting in many ways. When you can't see your friends in your home watching TV, we got a long ways to go. And then how you put things back together again without doing the same thing. Seeing the effects. We're just getting into the subject of psychological effects of the COVID. We've lost a lot of kids and adults since the big thrust of COVID. And we will not have an economic solution to any of our problems until we address, face, and conquer COVID-19. I don't care what anybody tells you. I don't care what you read in the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times. We thank the legislature for its help there, because we couldn't have done it without them. And the freeholders, or commissioners. We came together in all the political challenges and conflicts. We still came together to save our families. That's what it came down to. So, you know, unemployment is at a record low. I just saw the figures for the state of Georgia early this morning. The lowest they've ever had. State of Georgia. You gotta love it. Wages are up over 5%. Gas prices are falling, believe it or not. And we've added 9 million jobs. In fact, there's been more jobs added in the past 18 months than in any other administration in the worst of times. Got to think about these things. There's so many things that are happening, you don't know where to turn next. We've delivered some truly historic laws, the last one of which we just went back last week. Thank you for doing that. So $550 billion to invest in our roads, rehab, $280 billion to boost American semiconductor business, $700 billion to lower health care. That's our taxes, by the way. And some will say that's why there is inflation, because we spent money. No, what we should do is let people starve Do not address the COVID situation and just let our people die, and we'll be there to bury them. I don't want to live in that kind of a society. Do you? I don't. That's the choice. I'm guilty of some inflation. I'll take the rep. Most important is the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. Critical money that came back to us. We made sure, the Jersey delegation made sure. Our rebirth began by providing $10 billion to New Jersey. $97 million to Passaic County. Over 63, almost $64 million to Paterson, New Jersey. Our schools received nearly $159 million. And we better make sure that they know what the hell they're doing so they do not spend our money frivolously. I'll vote for every dime for education if I know where it's going. We just can't throw money at the problems of education, educating our kids. The governor announced our state's record budget surplus. I saw one story in the news about it. Holy crying feet. Just imagine if we had increases, they would have put them on the post. I'll give you controversy. You want controversy? That's the only thing you're going to write about? I'm thrilled Paterson received over $15 million for the Great Falls projects, the straight and narrow treatment program, and supporting, as the governor pointed out, the Paterson Jump program. This is on top of the nearly $35 million in municipal aid and over $10 million in transitional aid from the state. That's our legislature and our governor. Thank you. Thank you for what you've done. Nellie, thank you for what you've done. We'll fund our police, improve health services, and combat climate change with electric city vehicles. How about that, right here in Paterson, New Jersey, that old city. We'll invest in our senior centers. We forget our seniors all the time. We talk about them like we're going to do so many things for them. But what the heck do we really do? We haven't built senior housing in how many years? Why don't you go back and look who stopped building? Who put the hammer down and said, no more senior housing? We've lost our sense of history, and we blurred it with our own self-interest. We're energizing our economy and reopening our communities. This governor and this mayor will be known for how they opened up the communities, gave people fresh air in the worst of times, in a pandemic. They were leaders. They weren't afraid to speak up. I'm going to tell you this. If you ever see me hiding on important issues, get rid of me. I want to be out there fighting away. I almost got into it. They had to separate us a few weeks ago. I don't know if you saw that on TV. If you can't stand up for what you think, get the heck out of the business. If you're old and decrepit and you don't think anything matters anymore, what the heck are you doing there in the first place? We want to thank you, all of you, for your courage to stand up and have faith in an old city, old boxes of houses, yet have the guts to go forward for our kids and our grandkids. It's a good place. Think about it. God bless America, and God bless Paterson. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. Also want to acknowledge the fact that at the Falls, because of the Congressman's advocacy, we'll be getting a river walk, and we'll have a groundbreaking for that on September 12th. Thank you, Congressman. And we really appreciate all the America Rescue Plan money, specifically the money that's going towards finally resurfacing River Street, Commissioner Terry Duffy. I think that elicits a round of applause as well. And the wheels are in motion, Commissioner Best, for a recreation center. We're doing a feasibility study for that as well, and there's money for crisis intervention and gun violence intervention, Mr. Melvin. Thank you. Also want to point out, you alluded to Georgia and the encouraging unemployment rate there. Well, Georgia has nothing on New Jersey because the numbers show that we have recovered 99% of the jobs lost pre-COVID. And we're almost at our all-time lowest unemployment rate in the state of New Jersey. Thank you, Governor Phil Murphy. So at this time, I want to bring forward our next speaker. We alluded to senior housing. One of the projects that ERG involves is a senior citizen affordable housing project, 75 units for grandparents raising grandchildren in the city of Paterson. And we'll also be cutting the ribbon on another senior citizen affordable housing project this Tuesday at 11 a.m., Riverside Village. All are welcome to join us at 11 o'clock. And at Hinchliffe Stadium, we have another senior citizen affordable housing project, 76 units for our elderly there as well. And we couldn't have made it happen without our governor and our rockin' legislative delegation here in the 35th, led by our Senator Nellie Poe.
Well, thank you so very much, Mayor. Let me just say that I am just so thrilled and happy to be here. Congressman, thank you. It's always wonderful to see you. And we know that you are a fighter, so I'm not surprised that you were going to get into some kind of a broad with someone in the last couple of days or so. So, Governor, thank you so very much for being here. To all the reverends, Reverend Lassiter, Reverend Clayton, Reverend Graham, to all my colleagues, to all the local and officials, both our county officials, our state officials, all our distinguished members who have absolutely joined us today on this very special day. Let me say that the mayor talked about in terms of what it takes to really make a difference, and I will tell you that it's all about partnership. And without that partnership, things do not get done. We know that. We understand that. And the governor has been one of those partners with us. But I will tell you that while Paterson has faced its share of challenges, it continues to inspire leadership, innovation, creativity. The redevelopment efforts are throughout the city, are underway, and continue to fuel Paterson's rebirth. I am proud to have taken a leading role in securing and working with the governor on funds for the programs and initiatives that you just heard him talk about. These are programs and these initiatives are absolutely for the purpose of making sure to help build Paterson's city infrastructure, even as we invest into the lives of our young people who will carry the city's resurgence forward. But as my colleagues will tell you, Assemblyman Wimberly, Assemblywoman Sumter, none of that happens without that partnership. And I could not have done it without their leading role, their involvement, their struggle, their commitment to making sure that we were able to do it. And we did that every single day during that budget process. We were on top of it, ladies and gentlemen. We saw what was going on. We wanted to make sure that not only was the state going forward, but also that the city was going to be a part of that, Mayor. We knew what the needs of the city was at the time. The governor was part of that process. He was listening. We were talking to him. We were involved in those discussions. For those of us that are part of leadership, it was a team effort. And I'm happy to be able to say that we stand here together as one, as a team, in terms of making sure that we were able to do that. So it is really a team a team effort for the purpose of advocating, and it could not have happened without all of the elected officials. So when we're talking about what does it takes all of us. It really does take all of us. I want to already a lot has been said with regards to the programs that have been mentioned, but it is important to point out that programs like the Hinchcliffe Stadium, the Great Falls Development Project, the Ward Street mixed-use project in Paterson, to serve, to enhance, to ensure that travel and tourism, parking and indoor recreation projects are also a part of it. We were also able to meet and speak to and become a part of the discussion and the needs of what is around our city, especially places like St. Joseph Hospital, a major academic medical center and state-designated trauma center that cares for the most complex and routine health care services that they provide. Those cases cannot be taken care of without the love, the care that goes on and is provided for through St. Joseph Hospital. And I would be remiss, and I know it was mentioned both by the governor, by the mayor, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the funding appropriated for Straight and Narrow also in Paterson. One of the oldest community-based adult male residential addiction treatment facility that they have been serving our community for the past 60 years. Not only, by the way, not only for the city of Paterson residents, but throughout the entire state of New Jersey. So I thank you. I thank you, Governor. I thank you for taking a time to understand, to be part of this process, to look at the needs of Paterson. We have a lot more work to do. We need your help, Governor. We need your resources. We need you to continue to come to Paterson. This is only the beginning. We need you to be able to see that all of the little grains that we are planting, that those seeds are going to start growing, but it's going to take a little bit more of that. So we're going to need more for places like Street and Narrow. We're going to need more for places like St. Joseph Hospital. We're going to need more for the rebirth of this entire community. And I know that I speak on behalf of my colleagues, Assemblywoman Sumter and Assemblyman Benji Wimberly, that we will have your back, sir. We will be working day and night to making sure that Paterson has the type of regrowth, rebirth that we have been waiting for a very long time. Isn't that right, Mayor? So, with that said, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so very much, Mayor.
Let's have another round of applause for our Senator Nellie Poe. So, Senator, you're right about underscoring the importance of partnerships, because we do believe in a collaborative model here in what we like to think is a city of synergy and a city of solutions, and a 21st century city, I might add, Congressman. And we couldn't have done it without our council, whether it was at that time our council president emeritus, now Maritza Davila, Councilman Louis A. Velez, the A is for Action from the 5th Ward, and our former mayor and current councilman from the 4th Ward, the Honorable Ruby N. Cotton. And we have partners on the county level. In fact, in a few weeks, we'll be cutting a ribbon on the new and improved bridge over by Wayne Avenue, Spruce Street, the gateway to the Great Falls. So I want to acknowledge Commissioner T.J. Best, Commissioner Pasquale Pat Lepore, and Commissioner Terry Duffy. And of course, the aforementioned Sheriff Richard H. Burdnick. So, Governor, as you can see, you are co-authoring the success story in the city of Paterson. We've had almost $800 million in investment as far as economic development is concerned. We've invested about $20 million in our parks, and that doesn't even include Hinchliffe Stadium. We also, when we started 4 years ago, had over 1,200 abandoned properties, and now we have 400. So we're getting rid of these blighted, derelict properties and putting them back into use. I just see that we've been joined by Councilman at Large, Fareed Uddin. Thank you, Fareed. So before I bring up the next speaker, I want to acknowledge him for his efforts and his heroism. Because during the pandemic, he opened up the doors of his church to serve as a vaccination site. And thousands of lives were saved as a result of your courage, your commitment, and compassion for the city of Paterson and the residents of Passaic County. He also advocated on behalf of one of his congregants so that we can name a field after him that we recently renovated, the late and lamented Ray Lyde Sr. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to present to you the pastor of Calvary Baptist Church and my Little League baseball coach, Reverend Dr. Randall Moses Lassiter.
There is only one Mayor Andre Saya. First, before we get started with concluding remarks, I want to take a moment to acknowledge one of our own who's following in the steps of his father as a leader already, a young man who's working in the governor's office. Would y'all help me give some love and applause to young Kenneth Clayton, who is working out of the governor's office, who's representing our city well and representing the family. Protocol has been established, so let me just give the concluding remarks. I read about 2 books a month, but my favorite book that I like to read is the Bible. I constantly read the Bible. And today's event reminds me of one of the historical books, the book of Ezra. The book of Ezra, chapter number 1, it states that in the first year of Cyrus, the king of Persia, he fulfilled the prophecy that was given by Jeremiah. And the prophecy that was given to Jeremiah, that was passed on, that this king's heart was touched to give the resources to rebuild the walls of Israel. Many of the kings that come before that time that did not have a heart for Israel, Judah, did not have a heart for the care of the people who are in the trenches. We've had some other kings, other governors, who had not paid any attention to this city of Paterson that we like to call the city of righteousness. But if you let me play it out for just a moment, when I look at that particular scripture and I see Jeremiah constantly giving a prophecy to King Cyrus, I think of where you made your mistake, Mr. Governor, giving Mayor Andre Saya your text number. And by him constantly talking about a vision that he laid out now some 5 years ago, a vision that he laid out for this city, and he is carrying forth that prophecy that has been given, that he would take this city and do his best with a team of people to rebuild this city. And so today is a dream being fulfilled. Part of the mission is being fulfilled. And we're glad today that you heard the call, that your heart was touched, to not forget about Paterson like so many others have forgotten about, governors who have forgotten about this city, regardless of the great legislators, the great political people that we've had fighting for us, like Bill Pascrell, Nellie Poe, Benji Wimbley, and the incomparable Shavonda Sumter. All of those who have been fighting, but today, you heard it, and you made a decision, Mr. Governor. You made a decision to be a leader who has refrained your leadership from being one of being a hero to being a servant to the people you lead. And we want to thank you for having a heart that could make you a hero, but you decide that you want to be a servant leader. And so today, the residents, many who will not know, but they will know about this, who didn't know that this money was even coming here today, this will change the lives of children, families who will go past. That our congressman talked about the effects of COVID 10 years from now. Well, this will have an impact to deter what COVID would try to do. And so, as I close, we want to thank you. We want to thank you, our legislators. We want to thank our local politicians, Maritza Davia, and our commissioners who are here. We want to thank all of the council people who continue to advocate. And I can't leave out our faith-based leaders, who oftentimes go forgotten, but I tell you this much, I know this for a fact, who stand in the gap for this city, who quietly are praying for this city and praying that a king, a governor, would hear the cries from this mayor. And I'm telling you today that God has heard the cry for this city, and God is on the move of rebuilding and reestablishing, just like he did in the book of Ezra along with Nehemiah, of rebuilding the wall. And the wall is being rebuilt. And this is just the beginning. So we say thank you on behalf of all of the programs, all of the many people, Casey Melvin, who is boots on the ground with the Healing Collective, who is going and seeing people that some of us would not see or hear from. We thank you, Brother Melvin, for work that you're doing. We thank all of you for the work that you're doing. Continue to pray for this city, the city that we call the city of righteousness. This is the city of righteousness. This is the city that is emerging. This is the city that is collectively coming together. This is the city that is putting aside its differences and moving towards another plateau of what God has for it. We have the greatest legislators in Assemblyman Benjamin Wimbley, Nellie Poe, and Shavonda Sumters who are getting the job done. We can't go along with a fighter like Bill Pascrell and a mayor like Andre Sayre and a king and governor like Phil Murphy. We are on the move. But continue to be a city that intercedes. Continue to be a city that prays, because God hears the prayers of our people. This is a great day for the reinvestment of our city. This is a great day in the rebuilding of our city, and great things is about to happen in our city. Can you do me, can I act like I'm at church just one last time? Look at somebody on the side and say, great things are about to happen in our city. Just tell somebody good things are happening in our city. We thank God for each and every one. Sheriff Burnett, we thank you for your involvement and your moving out, meeting with the faith base. We need to see more of you. We appreciate what you're doing now. This is what it's all about. The community is on the move. Mayor, keep doing what you're doing. Just keep your head up and keep moving. And we thank you for this day. We thank you all for what God is doing. Would you mind if I close this out with a benediction and prayer as we go forward? So come on, let us stand together and we'll go forth. We thank you for all the work that's getting done, all the quiet work that's getting done. We thank you for people like Ruby Cotton. We thank all of you. Thank you for you. Father, as we close out this day today, we'll remember this in the annals, in the history of time, when a mayor who will continue to proclaim and prophesy what God has placed in his heart for this city. And then we thank you for the king. We thank you for Phil Murphy, who God has called him to make a decree and a declaration for the city that has brought forth the resources, not just financially, but the resources, his mere presence, bring about harmony and ability to work collectively together. So today we stand here today as one people, knowing that there's one God. And we give you all the praise, honor, and glory. So as we leave this place today, but never from your presence, let your spirit rest, rule, and abide with us. Now, we thank you, God, for everything that you've done. And we thank you for everything you're going to do. But, Father, we thank you most of all just for being God. In Jesus' name, amen. Give somebody a high five, a handshake, and tell them you love them.
Oh, I think they're leaving. Ladies and gentlemen, before you leave, I think we're going to take up a collection, right, Pastor? No, we're not going to take a collection. But it's interesting because one of my favorite scriptures says, without a vision, the people will perish. But this is proof positive that with a vision, the people of Paterson will prosper. Because you're right, it does take a village to raise a child, but it takes a village to raise a city, and it takes a village with a vision. And we have a visionary leader in our governor. And I can tell you this, we've never seen this level of investment, state level of investment in our city, unprecedented. And we have a friend in Phil Murphy, and we said he had our back, he means it, and today we celebrate him. And afterwards, all are invited to my office because we have a Garden State cake in his honor and for his birthday. Ladies and gentlemen, our governor, our friend, who's got our back, America's governor, Phil Murphy.
Thank you, man. I just want to, Andre, thank you. I'm so humbled and honored to be here. I thank the congressman, the senator, the members of the assembly, the faith leaders. Dr. Lassiter, always a risk to follow someone like you at the podium, so I'm humbled by that. The commissioners, the members of council, law enforcement. I want to, Kevin Slavin, where'd Kevin go? Kevin, I just want to say that St. Joe's, we talked about COVID a lot. St. Joe's was ground zero for this pandemic, and Kevin and his team are as good as it gets. So God bless you, man, and thank you. And secondly, Nellie, come on up. I know you would want to share this sentiment. Ron Rice, Nellie's colleague, announced today that he was hanging up his spikes at the end of this month. After decades of service to his nation as a United States Marine, as a member of law enforcement, as a mayoral candidate, and most recently as an outstanding senator for several decades. A great friend, a great leader, preceded Shavonda as the chair of the Legislative Black Caucus, spoke truth to power, still does, by the way, even though he's hanging up his senatorial spikes. And I think on behalf of all of us, we wanted to just salute Ron, a great leader, a great American, a great New Jerseyan, and a great guy. Thank you all.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you so much for doing that.
Welcome to season.
Senator Punks, what do you need?
Yeah, let's do that.
Again, there is cake in my office. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is invited to partake. In Paterson, you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Come on, let's go upstairs. Want to do behind the podium? Do it in front. Nellie does promise you cake.
Hey, Governor.